You're lying in bed at night, thinking about your day, the moments that you lost patience, or the times that you were too distracted, or the things that you wish you'd done differently. You might be thinking, I should have done better. That is parental guilt, and it can feel super heavy. Today, I'm going to teach you how to manage that guilt, how to ease some of the heaviness that it brings, and how to integrate that experience into an opportunity for meaningful growth. Let's go. Last week, we talked about parental shame, which is the feeling of not being good enough as a parent, often fueled by societal judgment and unrealistic expectations and the pressure to appear perfect, which if you want to see that video, you can find it here. Here in one of the corners. Yeah. Today we're going to talk about parental guilt, which is if you're thinking about those moments when maybe you lost your patience, maybe you snapped, or maybe you were just way too drained to play when your kids asked you to. What you're feeling in this moment is your behavior conflicting with your values. So you have these values of how you want to parent your kids, what you want your parenting to look like. And when your ideals meet your humanity, sometimes there's some disappointment in there. But here's the good news. If you feel this way, what that means is that you care deeply about your kids and about the way that you parent them. It means that you value your role as a parent, and that is a good thing. There might also be some unrealistic expectations in there. It's easy to sometimes believe that in order to be a good parent, we have to always be patient and kind and soft-spoken and just all around perfect. But the way that we respond to ourselves with our own imperfections is often the way that we end up responding to our kids with their imperfections. So if I can't allow myself to be human, that actually makes it hard for me to allow space for my child's humanity. But you don't have to be perfect. And they've actually documented this. So one of my favorite parenting studies they were looking at parents of securely attached children. So these are children who have a strong, secure, healthy attachment with their parents. They were looking at the parents' behavior, and shockingly, they only got it right about 30% of the time. And yet they still had these strong, thriving connections with their children. Why is that? What they found was that it was actually about the parents' ability to repair with their kids. So it wasn't about the parents' ability to parent perfectly. It was more about the parents' ability to reconnect after there's disconnection. So after a conflict, the parent's ability to acknowledge their mistake and to apologize. These are the things that help the child feel that relationships are safe. It helps the child to build emotional resilience, and it actually reduces their anxiety because we're giving them practice in real life relationship, because real relationship has conflict, but we can repair, we can rebuild and reconnect. One mom shared this experience. One night, I found myself sitting on the edge of my bed, overwhelmed by guilt as I replayed the day in my mind. My son had asked to play with me multiple times, but I was too caught up in work and chores, and by the time bedtime came, I had disappointed him. The sharpness in my voice when I told him no kept echoing in my head. But then I remembered connection is more important than perfection. The next morning, I sat down with him, apologized for not being present the night before, and reassured him that he was always my priority. I felt so grateful for his warm response and the ease with which we reconnected. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 actionable steps that you can take to transform guilt into growth. So the first one is to pick one thing. So it's easy in these moments at the end of our day when we're looking back at how things went to just be overwhelmed by all the mistakes that you made. You might have all these different should haves swirling around in your head, but that's not productive. So step one is to just pick one thing and discard the rest. So you pick one thing, and maybe it's the thing that feels the most important or the biggest or whatever. And then you're going to ask yourself a question. Is this one thing connected to my values, or is it just an unrealistic expectation to be perfect? So as long as it's connected with your values, then you're going to take that one thing and you're going to create an action plan for how you can actually grow in that area. So you identify the specific behavior, and then maybe you write down 3 actionable steps that you can take, concrete things that you can do to help you grow in that area. And then you're going to put that on your wall and dedicate a specific amount of time, like say 2 or 3 weeks, to work on that. And that helps you to minimize that feeling of guilt, because you're picking one thing and you're going to focus on it and you're working on it. And that's what matters. Second thing is stop ruminating. So rumination, I have a definition. It's the habit of continuously replaying negative thoughts, experiences, or worries, often in a way that feels uncontrollable and unproductive. It keeps the mind stuck in a loop of self-criticism or regret without leading to resolution or action. I don't know about you, but that sounds familiar to me. So when you have these negative thoughts swirling around your head about how bad of a parent you are, it creates this narrative, and it can become basically a self-fulfilling prophecy. So this narrative, you're basically convincing your brain that you're a bad parent, and then that makes your behavior more likely to confirm and fulfill that narrative. So what you can do, one way that you can help with this, is you can practice something called thought labeling. So when a negative thought arises, you can name it. Say, this is self-criticism. This helps you to kind of wake up, because you have to disrupt the pattern that's going on. This is something that often happens without people even realizing it. So that's the first step, is making sure that you're becoming aware of when you're ruminating, and you shut it down and you redirect your focus. Okay, I've picked my one thing. I have my plan. I don't need to think about this anymore. Lastly, number 3 is prioritize intentional connection. This is so effective for easing that feeling of parental guilt when you know this one thing. To your kids, your presence matters so much more than perfection. Think about it. At the end of the day, if you were to give your child a choice, would they choose the perfect parent who never made any mistakes? Or would they choose the parent who was present with them, taking the time to focus on them, looking them in the face when they're talking? Which would they choose? They would choose the present parent, because that is what they want. That is what they need. They need you with all of your flaws and all of your imperfections. That's what they want. So set aside time every single day to bond with your kids intentionally, even if it's just 10 minutes, even if it's just a small amount of time. And on each day, that could look different. Some days you might have the energy to play and to be fun, and other days you might not, and that's fine. Other days it might just look like reading or, talking or whatever. This small action nurtures your relationship with your child, and it fills their love tank, and it makes a statement that they are a priority. So even such a short amount of time gives you that feeling of connectedness, which is so helpful for easing parental guilt. Because at the end of the day, maybe you haven't done all the things right, but you took the time to connect with your child, and that is so important. I wanted to let you know that I've created a free mini class where I teach you 5 powerful phrases to simplify your life as a parent. These are amazing. They help you to foster mutual respect while still holding your boundaries. They help you to simplify your communications, because you get a really simple, easy to remember script. And they help you to de-escalate tough moments with confidence. So if you want access to that, just comment "Simplify Parenting" below, and I will send you the link, or you can find it in the description. Parental guilt is something that so many people experience, but by focusing on learning from our challenges and fostering that connection with our kids, we can shift the mindset from one of self-criticism to self-improvement. And we can move forward with a greater understanding and compassion for ourselves, which then translates to how we approach challenges with our kids. Next week, we're going to talk about parental stress, why it's so common, and how we can manage it. So I hope to see you there, and I will see you next time.